Minister Mchunu joins us now for more on this summit. Water woes. Minister, thank you so much for joining us to have this discussion. Now, we know that you came down hard on these problems that we're facing when it comes to water, and water woes in local municipalities being caused by poor performance and mismanagement. What were your concerns coming out of the Blue and No Drop report?
The main concern is for the water sector, all of us, particularly the mayors, who are the leaders of water service authorities in the country, making it a culture that we complain about capacity, we complain about old infrastructure, we complain about lack of funding. Those matters are there. Those matters are well known and they need to be dealt with in a way. But we've gone past that as our ceiling. We want to break into an era where we resolve whatever problem, irregardless of the factors that I'm talking about, because they merely are a description of the situation. But all of us, mayors, ourselves, were not appointed to complain about those factors that are hard, that are a challenge, or that are challenges. That is known, it's part of the package. But what we now must arrive at in South Africa is to deliver reliable, clean water to residents, increasingly so, and in urban and rural areas. That is what we need to do, and that is what we need to face directly, and not take our time complaining or describing any problem. That's the main challenge. I believe that if we change our attitude, if we part ways with those songs, we say the challenge that is facing us is equal to us as government in the local sphere and national sphere. There's nothing that we can't do. Of course, we talk about how to resolve or what we need to do to resolve this, but the name of the game now is to deliver reliable, clean water to the citizens of the country. That is what we need to do.
Minister Mchunu, you're mentioning this overdiagnosis of the problem about singing the same song, and we've heard that as well, the same problems being ventilated. What happens then when this song doesn't stop being sung? We've been hearing it for almost, for 3 decades now. If we're still talking about planning on what we need to do, where does that leave us?
The precise reason why we called the summit today and tomorrow is precisely to signal the end of doing things in a usual way, talking in a usual way. Remember, provision of water is also an ethical issue. It's also a moral issue. Apart from it being a constitutional obligation touching on the rights of people. Water, at the end of the day, human beings use it not just to wash their bodies, but to drink, and they use it for life, to sustain their lives. That is when it becomes a moral issue to say, would you have a reason, would any municipality in South Africa have a reason to say you will continue drinking substandard water because of this and that reason? Would that be morally justifiable? Would that be ethically justifiable? The answer is no. And therefore, there is no reason, in other words, that should be allowed to prevent or inhibit us from delivering water, clean water to the people of South Africa. If there is a problem, it must be removed.
We know that, Minister, sorry to interject on you there.
I want to come directly to your question. We have said we've provided municipalities with a host of choices. The main choice now is to say, if you are a water service authority, and for one reason or the other, for now you can't deliver clean water, appoint a service provider. That is the bottom line. Appoint a service provider. You can appoint a water board. You can appoint a municipality next door, which is doing well. You can appoint any other private, even a private company to do so. What you are not going to do, what we are not going to do, is to allow municipalities to continue like they have been doing before. We even the issue of issuing directives when people are not complying in terms of treating water and all of that, and running their water treatment plants, and therefore producing water that is substandard. Those directives, even taking them to court, we have been doing that all the time. Now we're saying this is now the end. We are now getting to a different era where we just must deliver clean water. And we are saying, if you can't deliver clean water for one reason or the other, appoint a service provider and then you will remain an authority, a water service authority, but you have a provider who will do the job for you. You will have an SLA, a service level agreement with such a provider, and then they will provide water under your supervision as an authority, but the bottom line, provide clean water.
What kind of clean water are we talking here, Minister? Because we know of areas like Hammanskraal where drinking from the tap is seen as deadly. We saw the cholera outbreak also that struck that place last year. Are we talking about clean tap drinking water that you are going to be providing, or bringing in more water tankers and people having to rely on trucks and service providers making a lot of money by people not being able to access tap water and rather relying on these water tankers?
So there are standards to which water must comply as produced and supplied by municipalities. They know it's water which is free of certain loads of chemicals and certain loads or amount of loads or volume of loads in terms of microbiological elements, as such that water that is supplied would comply to the standards as set out. Now, there's the first and main issue that all of us must comply with. And in order to arrive at that level, in order to be able to be in a position to supply such water that is compliant, your treatment plants, your infrastructure underground, the pipes, and even your reservoirs, and your processing of water when you clean it in your treatment plant, all of those issues are prescribed in terms of how do you go about throughout these processes such that at the end you have a compliant product. This is what we are talking about. And therefore, if you can't, and you are a water service authority, but you are not able, for one reason or the other, instead of telling us the reasons why you are not able to provide clean water, you are going to appoint a service provider who will be able to do what needs to be done to produce clean water for the people of South Africa in your municipality. And then once everything has been checked about that service provider, we will issue them a license, and it will be subjected to certain scrutinies. You will be subjected, that service provider will be subjected to certain scrutinies. Whether it's a water board, whether it's a municipality next door, they will be subjected before they are given a license. then they will start providing water. Of course, we're not expecting that everything will be just a miracle the following day. But what we are saying, there's no way we're going to do things the way we've been doing them after the summit and after the prescribed time during which we must do turnarounds. There's going to be time frames there that are going to be agreed upon. There's going to be all things that we talk about, like where do you get resources to do whatever you need to do, and when, if you can't, then this is what you need to do. So there's going to be time frames. So once we hit those time frames as agreed upon in the summit, there's just no way we can go back to do things the way we've been doing. We are a country, and we are a big country, and we need to remember water also is very important in ensuring growth of economy. That is in terms of the supply. And then there is then quality water, especially drinking water. It must not just be supplied, but it must be compliant with the standards that I'm talking about. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to agree on that tomorrow on those matters, and then there will be a time frame within which those things will be done. And we're saying for the next 3 years, it is going to be like that while municipalities are building their own capacity if they want to do that. We're not preventing any water service authority to build their own capacity as they like, as they should. But while they are building that, while they are doing all sorts of things, we want a supply of clean water, reliable clean water to the residents or to the citizens of the country within the time frame that is going to be agreed upon.
Minister, you speak of compliance, and speaking of compliance, coming out of that report as well was a great concern that the percentage of drinking water with poor or bad microbiological compliance in terms of the WHO and the South African compliance in terms of our Bureau of Standards had actually jumped from 5% in 2014 to 46% in 2023. That's very concerning to think that the compliance levels are getting worse as the years go by. What are the plans in terms of that?
One was saying that this is not a disaster from God. It's not a natural disaster that we've had that sharp decline. It means this is the extent to which water service authorities have neglected their duties in terms of guaranteeing compliance. So we are happy that this is no natural disaster. It is all man-made, which means that when people stop doing what has led to this decline, and they start doing things that will lead to clean water supply, this thing is achievable. The fact that there are 12 municipalities that are regarded as good and even excellent, 12 out of 144, and then there are 27 that are average, who must improve to the level of the 12. It means that there is nothing supernatural that prevents all the others, the 38 poor ones and the 67 worst ones. It's all about leadership. It's all about determination to do what is correct. And therefore, we're not too worried that we've declined from that percentage to 46%. Yes, recognize that it is true, but we're not going to sit here and say there's nothing we can do about it, and it's going to be difficult to turn that around. No. One error that happened, of course, was that between 2014 and now, and 2021, we stopped making these assessments, annual assessments, which meant that during that period, no water service authority knew where they were exactly. To a point where they even forgot their duties and their responsibilities even to inform citizens that, look, our water has dropped from the standard, please boil it, as it is supposed to be the case.
Yeah.
They are supposed to do that, check water, and inform the public when you fail to reach the compliant quality.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, Minister. I'm so sorry, and I hope you... Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, Minister. All the best with that summit that will be taking place over the next couple of days.